Fala galera do Diversão Offline, meu nome é Rodrigo Manique e hoje estamos aqui para conversar com a internacionalmente conhecida designer de jogos Elizabeth Hargrave. A Elizabeth Hargrave, ganhadora do Kenner Spiel des Jahres em 2019 pelo jogo Wingspan, nos cedeu esta entrevista. E como nós fizemos? Nós tivemos o bate-papo com ela, né? E depois, em inglês, né? E depois foi legendado para que vocês possam assistir com tranquilidade para o português. Mas como fizemos isso? Nós agendamos, né, com bastante antecedência para combinarmos os horários certinho, para dar tudo certo, né? Porque além das datas, né, ela deve ter seus trabalhos para fazer e ajeitar direitinho também a diferença de horário para casar e termos um bate-papo tranquilo, sem pressa, tá? Depois traduzir e legendar para vocês. Então, com vocês, a incrível Elizabeth Hargrave. Estamos aqui com a incrível designer Elizabeth Hargrave, ganhadora do Kenner Spiel des Jahres 2019 Wingspan. It's a great pleasure having you here in Brazil. We have so many fans of yours. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You know, it's such a honor, especially for me. I think for everyone. It's an amazing moment for us. And tell me, Elizabeth, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's very hot here. It's our summer. And I can't do the math in my head for how many degrees it is in Celsius, but it's like 97 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that might be 35-ish. It's hot.
Wow. Indeed, yeah, it's hot. It's hot. Here in Brazil, it's a little bit cold now. And tell me, Elizabeth, could you tell me a little about yourself? Where you live in now? Where you live? Where you come from?
Yeah, I live just outside of Washington, D.C. in the state of Maryland. So.
And do you remember your early game experience?
Oh. My family always had games around the house, just mass market things like Sorry, and we played a lot of card games, gin rummy and hearts and things like that. Scrabble, a lot of Scrabble.
Oh, great.
And
So,
then, yeah, and then in college, continued playing a lot of that sort of thing. We would study together, and we would like play a turn at Scrabble and then go back to your book where you're reading and then wait for it to come back around to you. But it was after college that I found hobby board games, just with some people who I was with for a weekend who had brought some along, and I was totally hooked from the first time that I played.
and when did you realize you were more than a gamer, that you actually were a game designer?
Yeah, I had probably been playing hobby games for about 10 years, give or take. And my husband and I were talking about, like, why are all the games that we enjoy playing about subjects that we don't really care about? And he said, what if there was like Race for the Galaxy, but with birds? And because that was a game that we were playing a lot at the time. And that idea just sort of, that was my hook, that my brain wouldn't let it go. And so I just started thinking about, what if there were Race for the Galaxy with birds? Like, what would that look like? How would it work? So.
Yeah, Race for the Galaxy. Nice game.
Yeah.
You started pretty well. And and tell me, that was the moment that you have the some bug, that oops,
right, that was the spark, we say.
The spark, exactly.
Yeah.
And what's your background previous to becoming a board game designer?
Yeah, so I live near Washington, D.C. because I came here to work for the federal government. and my background is in healthcare policy. So I don't actually know anything about how to provide healthcare. I'm not trained in medicine, but I'm an analyst, and I spent about 20 years helping folks in the federal government think about how to make federal healthcare programs better.
We know, Elizabeth. There are few women board game designers, right? Was it difficult to start in the market knowing that there are more men than women?
Um, when I first started going to playtesting events, and locally at smaller events, it was common for me to be the only woman in the room. That was weird at first. I never had any experiences where people were obviously being mean to me because I was a woman, or dismissive, or like my experiences were generally positive, I think, but it's just like a little uncomfortable and lonely, to be the only woman in the room. As I got to know everyone there, it became like I was just gonna go see my other friends that were designers, and it's not as weird. Um, but there's definitely that like first few times that you go, you really have to push through and just decide that you're gonna go do it anyway. But in the
Yeah, because
industry,
you see,
more generally, like it's hard to say, right? Like I sent out a bunch of emails asking for meetings to pitch Wingspan when I thought it was ready, and I got a few meetings. And for the people who turned me down, like I will never know. Like, was it because it was a game about birds? Probably. Was it because I was a woman? Who knows? Like, you don't know. It's really hard to know what part of your experience can be attributed to what part of your identity. But in general, I feel like mostly it's just lonely.
I see, I see. And tell me, could you tell us a little bit, no, or more, a lot about your creative process? Where does it start? From a mechanic, from the theme, or from a dream you had?
I would say for me, really, for the games that I have worked on so far, it's been like theme and mechanic together. Like having the simultaneous idea of, oh, there should be a game that's like Race for the Galaxy but birds. There should be a game about migrating butterflies, and obviously that's movement on a map, right? There should be a game, I want to work on an I Split You Choose game. Oh, it could be about giving people flowers, right? Like the two together is really like, I need both to start. So for me, people say theme or mechanic, and the answer is yes, both.
Because you have succeeded in blending so well the game. You Wingspan, for instance. The first time I saw the game, I was mind blowing. And people that I introduced the game to, they are used to some kind of games, but when they see that the theme and how could you blend and you it became a unique game. Okay, both of
Yeah.
them. Okay, we have the set collection. Okay, but the Wingspan, people couldn't believe they were actually playing it, and then after another one, because usually when we have groups of gaming, right? You each one brings a game, and okay, play one, then next, but it didn't happen to Wingspan.
You just play Wingspan, play Wingspan, play Wingspan.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think some of that comes from the fact that it's a game that it plays differently every time that you play it, and you feel like you can get better. Like you want to see if you can do better the next time, and I think that is definitely important to the success of a game. So it's something that I try to build in that room to get better at something.
And how did you feel? Was it a surprise with the fast success of Wingspan?
Definitely. I mean, so yeah, I did a lot of reading about board game design and listening to podcasts, and a lot of people say, you know, as a first time designer, your first game, like if you sell 5,000 copies, you're doing really well for your first game, right? And then just before Wingspan went up for sale on the Stonemaier website, I heard an interview with Jamie Stegmaier, because we hadn't really talked about the print run and how big it was. I don't know. I was just happy to let him deal with it. And I heard this interview with him where he said his minimum print run is 10,000 copies. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. But now we're well beyond that. You know, it's in 30 something languages, I think, and I think we're about to print the millionth copy.
Yeah, that wow.
It's a lot.
Whoa, mind blowing again.
Yeah.
So yeah. And the sensation of winning the Kennerspiel des Jahres, did I say it correctly?
I think
Because
so.
although
I don't speak German.
Yeah, German.
So I
No,
had
go
to.
on.
I got some German people to practice it with me while I was there. Kennerspiel des Jahres, something like that.
Yeah, the sensation to win the Kennerspiel des Jahres. Now you can go to sleep if you want, because how was the feeling? The sensation?
Yeah, it's wild. So the year that I was nominated, the other two nominees were Stefan Feld and Ignacy Trzewiczek. So, and I am a huge fan of both of them, especially Stefan. Like Castles of Burgundy is one of my all-time favorite games. So I went into it really like, a lot of people were saying nice things to me that weekend of like, oh, of course you're gonna win, and I was like, I do not say of course I'm going to win. Like Stefan Feld and Ignacy Trzewiczek are no joke, right? But yeah, it was wonderful. It's a big deal, and the ceremony is like nothing I have ever seen for board games. There are photographers there. It's like a big, you know, event with all the flash bulbs going off and like TV cameras, and I saw the pictures from this year. They had little fireworks, and they make a big deal out of it.
And we are talking about Wingspan. We have more things to talk about, but Wingspan. How did you get into the theme? Because how was the process to research for the game of various breed of birds and their behavior?
Mm-hmm. I'm a birder, so part of the reason that I started with North America is that those are the birds that I know. I certainly didn't know enough to be able to fill out every card from my head. I had to look the information up, but just especially in terms of like the powers and the ones where, you know, the cowbird laying its eggs in other birds' nests and things like that. A lot of those were things that I just knew about the bird behavior, and inspired a lot of the actual things in the game, and sort of knowing what the right categories were for the food and the nests and things like that. Even if I didn't know the nest for every single bird, it's pretty easy to look up. So yeah, but it is for each expansion a big data collection process now, and it makes me a little bit more nervous because I don't know the birds from these other places necessarily. But it's a lot of fun to learn about them. and do that research. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. You transformed some a hobby into
yeah,
something, right? That you
yeah.
brought to the world. I can't say just to the gamers, but to the world. People now are part of your previous hobby.
Right. Well, and a lot of birders heard about it through like the Audubon Society in the US has a magazine, and like they put something about it in their magazine and different things like that. There's a chain of stores here called Wild Birds Unlimited that sells like bird feeders and bird seed and things like that. And have been selling Wingspan. It broke out of just being in the board game market, and has gotten all of these birding people playing board games. And actually, at Gen Con in 2019, so this was in August, so like 8 months after Wingspan came out, I met some people at Gen Con in Indianapolis who were birders first and had discovered board games because of Wingspan. And 8 months later, they were at the largest board game convention in the United States, right? Like they were just in all the way because of Wingspan. So that's super exciting. And I hear about people going the other way too, that they're board gamers, they play Wingspan, and now they're actually interested in the birds. And that's super fun too.
Yeah. Wow. Unexpected, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
wife doesn't like to play lots of games.
Uh-huh.
Just one or the other one. But yours, I don't know what happened, but it caught her eye.
I hear this from a lot of people, and
Can
I
I?
don't know exactly what it is.
Okay,
But
I will say.
really, I've gotten a lot of notes from men who say my wife doesn't enjoy most of my board games, but Wingspan is one that she will actually ask me to play.
Exactly.
I
And
don't know what
yes,
it
usually
is. I wish I knew.
it's you. It's you with your ideas blended correctly. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a board game designer, but I am a lover. We all are fan of yours, you and your creation.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, your first game was about flower. Am I right?
It depends how you count.
Mm.
So Wingspan was the first game that I started working on, and I worked on that for several years and pitched it, and then worked on it for another year with Stonemeyer after it was signed. And then during the time that it was being printed, I was done. And this design contest came up to do an 18 card game for Button Shy Games. And I said, oh, that sounds like a fun thing to do after making a deck of 170 cards. I'll do an 18 card game. So I did that very quickly, like in a month between the time that I heard about the contest and the time that it was due to Button Shy. Um, yeah, and then that was because 18 cards are so easy. That was sort of they judged the contest, and that was announced that I had won it before Wingspan came out. But they didn't actually print Tussie Mussy until after Wingspan was out. But it was like there was a BGG page
Okay.
for it, and so I think the date on it is before Wingspan. But like the Kickstarter was that
Yeah.
June after Wingspan came out, I think. So it's weird, like how to count which one was first. I don't know.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I know those two games and the other one. Oh my goodness, there's another one.
yeah,
So we have the butterflies, the flowers. About okay, the theme flowers, right? Butterflies.
yeah,
Oh, mariposas, like you say in
yeah,
Spanish and Portuguese.
yeah.
And so they are so different, right? Among themselves, and you see, oh wow, and the mechanics and the blend they blend again because you see games that you could put anything there. There is the mechanic, and you could put any theme, not yours, right? It was created exactly specifically for that, and I couldn't see another thing. That I play lots of games, and lots of people saying the same told me, okay. Mariposas I couldn't play it more than once, so I am waiting for the chance. Uh, but how was to work on Mariposas, for instance?
Mariposas is one that I started several years ago, and it was on my shelf for a long time. It was not working, and I just put it away. And then that actually, again, there was a design contest or sort of a call for proposals from AEG. And I had finished Wingspan and had a few months before the deadline for that. And I was like, oh, I'll pull this one back out. I have some ideas about how to make it better. And it came together pretty quickly when I pulled it back off the shelf, which has happened for me a couple of times now with other games too that I'm still working on. But sort of have this idea, I make a really quick prototype because I really believe in like just make something quickly and see if it works or not. But sometimes it does not work, and I'll set it aside. But it gives me something to come back to later, and I think like in the back of my brain, it's just kind of working without me thinking about it directly. So yeah, that it came together pretty quickly, and but it always had that map almost exactly like the map that got published, and it was really sort of the mechanics about how do the butterflies move, and what are the goals and how you score points and things like that changed over time.
and 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 you told me, right, you couldn't imagine that your game would be with reach other countries around the world, and
Yeah.
it's something that is you use. I have friends who live in some small countries that they don't know lots of games,
Mm-hmm.
but some of your games they know, they do, or because they went to Orlando, to Disney, or to places,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to a store and they caught the eye,
Right.
and for some reason they bought it, and there is something, there is something here. It's a magical thing that you have created, you have in you. I don't know. So Mariposa's a game with animals, environmental theme again, right?
Mm-hmm.
With grid movement, hexagon grid. Yes, hexagon grid. You have movement points, I believe. Yeah, movement set collection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another unique game, and I had to tell you that because with one game I said, wow, another hit, another hit. Now I have a question for you outside of the of the game. Uh, how was the going back? Because nowadays during the pandemic, people are now playing online games. So the board games translated to apps or online,
Mm-hmm.
such as BGG and BGG, no BGA. So how
Right.
was the yeah? How was the experience to translate the from cardboard to platform?
Yeah.
This,
So yeah, Stonemeyer has a separate company that contracts with them to do their apps, and they just handle all of the work there. And they brought me in when they were ready to test it. So they had myself and several other people play the first, probably not the first version. Who knows how many times they played it before I did, but what a surprise to sit down and they've put in the bird songs into the app and the birds move, and it's just delightful. It was wonderful. And then there was a lot of testing and catching little things that were wrong, and they had to fix in the programming, and they opened that up to more and more people over time, and that was a fun process to see because I have never been involved with making any kind of software before. So yeah, it was really interesting and fun to see.
Oh my goodness, a new creation. Yeah, you can see. Oh my goodness. We are talking about apps, gaming online, and the pandemic, right? How are you handling with the pandemic, and how did you handle with the pandemic at the beginning? Did it affect you with your game time?
A lot, a lot. I played a lot fewer board games in general. I was not playtesting at all, because I have learned that I can't ask my spouse to playtest too much or he gets grumpy. And he's just, he's happy to play games a certain amount, but he's not a really hardcore gamer. He's just, he likes playing games with our friends. And he's not thinking about things in the same way that my game design friends think about things when we play test together, and he does not like the process of sitting and talking about it afterwards. So that I really missed, and I really missed the structure of having a playtest group that I meet once a week with my design friends, and having that structure where play something on Wednesday afternoon, and then I have a week to make a new version for the next, and then it's a deadline that really keeps me moving forward. So we've only just started doing that again in a very small, just 3 of us. And I don't know what I'm going to do about getting together in larger groups. I have a lot of people now who are willing to play test my games, and it just, I don't feel right yet inviting a lot of people inside to play. And with a card game, outside can be chaos if there's wind. So, yeah, I don't know. So, like, for a whole year, I got almost nothing done on my games. And then this year, I've been working more again. So, because a lot of designers moved onto Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia, but those really, I do not enjoy playing games on those platforms. And for playtesting things like Wingspan that have a lot of text on the cards, it's just really unpleasant to me. So I just didn't go that route. I took a break.
I see. Yeah, it a game 1 hour game turns to 2 hours game. So
Right, and
more.
it's just a lot to ask. And my best friends have 3 kids that were all home trying to do school online. I was doing a lot of childcare with them and just other things going on. Yeah.
You have you played your games, you play test a lot your games. Of course, let's put the pandemic aside a little bit, but the common day, the usual, you play. And is your game time, can you separate the game when you, today I'm going to play for fun and today I'm going to play for work? Do you still have time to play for fun?
Yes. Yeah, and I have a set of friends that are like not involved in game design in any way, who just want to play games, and um I mostly can turn off my game design brain. Every once in a while I'll be like, oh, I see this rule and like why they did it, and like I might point it out to people because it's kind of fun to see how the machinery works. But I'm not like constantly worrying about it or anything.
Analytical. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Usually I have to like think hard enough about how to play the game and like actually do well at it that I like I can't think as much about how it's made.
and Elizabeth, do you have any favorite game design? I think you already said, but I'm asking. I would like to be sure, or one or two.
A bunch. I really like Wolfgang Warsch,
Mhm.
and Vlada Chvaddle. Is that how you say his last name?
Okay.
Like both of them have such a range of games. It blows my mind. Um, like to do Through the Ages and Galaxy Trucker and Code Names, like that's amazing,
Totally
right?
awesome.
And I love all three of those games, and the same with Wolfgang Warsch. And then I always forget. I mean, there's so many good designers out there. I always feel a little awkward calling on just a couple of favorites, but there are so many good people, and we are so lucky to live in this time when so many new games are coming out every year, and we get to sort through them and find the really good ones.
Elizabeth, I have. Do you have any plans for the future? What games are you currently working on? Could you tell us a little bit, if it's possible?
Yeah, I have a game that is currently signed with Pandasaurus that's getting really heavy development going on right now. Like, we realized that there were some pretty fundamental flaws in in the pacing of the game, and we're trying a bunch of different things and trying to figure out what the best fix is. So that it could be a while yet on that one. We'll see. And then I'm just starting a game about mushrooms, which is another hobby of mine. And
Ooh,
I'm working on the next Wingspan expansion. So yeah,
more,
lots of things going on, and
please.
it's really a question of like, how can I playtest them? So hopefully we'll get through this next wave of COVID and feel a little better getting together again.
Diversão offline. It's our kind of Gen Con we have in Brazil, in South America. It's the biggest one in South America, and people from all places here come, and it's every year it's growing more and more. And I have to tell you, I have a channel, and I usually interview designers, right?
Mhm.
And I was, I need to invite Mrs. Elizabeth, but this I was really anxious, and oh my god, if she says no, if she says no, I don't know. I and and Diversão Offline called me, and would you like to interview her? And oh my goodness, yes. And I now I can go to sleep. So if I want.
Oh.
So Elizabeth, I would like to thank you so much. I have more questions to ask you, and of course about Wingspan. I know you have more things in your shelves, right? Maybe for the near future. Hopefully, they will get here in Brazil, and if they don't in time, I will buy from companies there and import. And because I'm anxious to see more from what comes from your creation. Uh, and I would like to thank you for all people that are watching this interview, and myself included. Thank you for so much for being here with us, sharing this amazing experience to all of our the piece of masterpiece you have been created. It's not one. It's not just one. Uh, they're unique games that brought so many good moments, so unique moments, experiences. Because your games are not only games; they are experiences. You are not playing only. You are feeling that, right? The moment that you
Mm.
see that, wow, that bird does this, it's an unbelievable. I was never into birds, but now I am. Of course, maybe not as a birder, but now I'm into birds more. Your
Mhm.
games, I can tell that. I don't know if someone told you, but your games have a soul,
Mm.
right? You feel
That's
it.
a nice way to say it. Thank
Uh,
you.
yes, and during the pandemic, we had good moments. It helped us to, in a light and with an elegant and light way, to stay in home with our families, and relatives during the pandemic. And that's why it was so important to talk to you, not only with everything that you brought to the world, because we can see that, we can tell that, right? And for the gaming industry, but for families as well, and heavy gamers or light gamers or families having fun together. It's an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you.
Do you have, and I was going to ask you, do you have any words for our viewers at the convention?
Oh, I just hope you have a great con and get to play lots of games and hear from other great designers and yeah, I'm glad that events like this have come together to get people together and keep us all going right now. So yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Elizabeth. Eu estou aqui com a incrível Elizabeth Hargrave, trazendo a sua história, né, que em tão pouco tempo trouxe jogos incríveis que nos faz sentir felizes. E esperamos mais jogos aqui no Brasil e no mundo. Obrigado.